Milne.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Abbott. And I ask, will the Minister confirm that Prime Minister Abbott has the power to deploy 3,500 Australian troops to unilaterally invade Iraq if he chose to do so, and would be able to do so with no reference to the Parliament? And if so, when is the government going to concede that, especially with the current Prime Minister, that this is dangerous and that such decisions, as important as deploying troops to war, should be brought to the Parliament?
The Leader of the Government in the Senate, representing the Prime Minister, Senator Abbott.
Mr President, the question by the Leader of the Greens, of course, is absolutely hypothetical. There is no basis to it whatsoever. The CDF and other high military officials have completely and utterly debunked the nonsense that was peddled in the media in relation to that, and indeed the journalist that first wrote the story has somewhat backpedalled from his initial assertions. And so, given all that passage of time and that evidence, for the Leader of the Australian Greens to come in here and to somehow give that assertion some credibility does her no credit whatsoever. I can confirm to the Senate that no such proposal was on the table or is on the table, and as a result the question is hypothetical.
Senator Milne, supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. And I did ask whether the Prime Minister has that power and when you're going to concede that it should come to the Parliament. But I ask now, why did the Prime Minister allow the New Zealand Prime Minister to announce the latest deployment of Australian troops to Iraq when he announced the joint Australia-New Zealand force with 143 New Zealanders? Why didn't he announce it at home rather than allow it to be announced in New Zealand?
Order on my right. Minister.
Mr President, I think that the honourable senator herself knows that the suggestion that the Prime Minister allowed the Prime Minister of New Zealand to make the announcement is a stretching credulity somewhat far. The good news is that Australia and New Zealand does have a close relationship from many years back. We do enjoy a close relationship. May that long continue. But in relation to the particular announcement made by the New Zealand Prime Minister, it occurred, but above and beyond that as to with whose authority, I'm not going to make any comment.
Senator Milne, final supplementary question.
Thank you, and I thank the Minister for conceding that the announcement was made. So how many additional Australian troops? How many additional Australian troops are going to be deployed to Iraq?
On my right.
When and for how long? Is it 2 or 3 years or more? Will they be engaged in combat? And what will that make the total of Australian troops deployed in Iraq?
Minister.
Mr President, let's just get absolutely clear what we're talking about here. There are some leaders in the world and peoples in the world that are prepared to make the necessary decisions to stop the barbarity and evil that is taking place in Iraq as we speak. Beheadings as we speak. People sold into sexual servitude and slavery, and Senator Milne quibbles about whether or not Australia might support the international effort to help excise this evil out of Iraq. I find the double standards of the Australian Greens absolutely horrific in this regard. I just cannot believe that Senator Milne would quibble about whether it might be 100 or 200, whatever number may be and in whatever circumstance. Surely she has the good grace to support the fight against the evil.